Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of December 4th to December 10th, and this became a very interesting week. Obviously, this one will be somewhat focused on Microsoft to a certain extent, but with the biggest one going to be, which we'll be covering, is the FTC suing Microsoft over the Activision Blizzard deal. So we will be talking about that, plus a response of folks at ZeniMax are looking to push for unionization, and supposedly, barring this lawsuit though, Microsoft signing a 10-year deal to get Call of Duty on Nintendo system and on Steam. Plus, the Game Awards happened this week, and we have the winners and some announcements that were made during the Game Awards though. And so if you're interested in where I got a lot of sorts of these information though, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. But before we get started, I like to do what I like to call, which is the quick My 2 Cents. Stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a whole amount of details to be exact though. The first one is a report that has come out, although now it has been confirmed, at least during the Video Game Wars, is that we'll be looking at a March 2023 launch date for the sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, to Star Wars Jedi Survivor though. This is certainly one of the Star Wars games I will be looking forward to, assuming this release date holds. Most likely it will, to be exact though. I thought Jedi Fallen Order was definitely a really good Star Wars game. It's just that what made me disappointed is that it took EA this long to make an actually good Star Wars game for a long time, following several cancellations of Star Wars Star Wars games, to the infamous Battlefront 2 and the whole loot box and microtransaction debacle that this basically showed up at all. So hopefully this one will be as good as Jedi Fallen Order was. We also hear a report that basically there was an idea of a Metroid game, but called Metroid Tactic, that was pitched at Aulx Studio, and basically it would have been sort of a XCOM like game and sort of be like a prequel to the Metroid series in general. Obviously, this never really went to fruition or anything like that though, but honestly, I wouldn't be completely against the idea if Nintendo did something like that. I mean, we've seen Nintendo characters do other things. I mean, we've seen like the Legend of Zelda series, we've gotten like, the Hyrule Warriors games, we've seen basically games like, say, basically like Mario, who's been in numerous other genres outside of the platforming 2D or 3D, to like XCOM like with Mario plus Rabbids, to basically stuff like, say, like Mario RPGs and all that stuff. So it certainly would have been an interesting idea if this basically were to happen and all. So, but obviously it doesn't sound like it never went that far or anything like that. We also learned that Horizon Forbidden West DLC was shown during the Game Awards. It was basically for the Burning Shores, and it will be aimed for next year. Unfortunately, those who have the PS4 Horizon Forbidden West will not be able to get this, as there are reports that this will be only for the PS5. So yeah, it's probably going to suck for basically for PS4 owners, to be exact though. We also learned that apparently Nintendo has filed a copyright strike against the Did You Know YouTube channel over their report on the so-called Heroes of Hyrule video that they did. Basically talking about a game that Aulx Studio pitched to Nintendo, that Nintendo didn't supposedly didn't go that far and all. I mean, this is where I would actually agree with some of the criticism towards Nintendo. I mean, I understand that they're very protective of their IP, but there are times when I will admit that they tend to go maybe a little too far or go a little bit overboard when it comes to protecting their IPs. And this is definitely one of them, though, to be exact, though. To me, this sounds really unnecessary for Nintendo to file a copyright strike against Did You Know Gaming. Again, I like Nintendo. I consider myself a Nintendo fan, but there are times when I think they go maybe a little bit overboard, and this is one of those cases, though. We also learned that Sega of America will be opening up some new offices in California and all. This is coming off the heels of some of their games like Persona 5 Royal doing very well, being on multiple systems, including the Nintendo Switch. It's nice to see that. Hopefully, this means that there's going to be new employment and all that stuff, and hopefully this certainly isn't a bad thing. Hey, more jobs in California. I'm all for that, though. And in the movie and TV show, though, part of my 2 cents, we only have one. It appears to be that the late Christine Alley has passed away. She was, I believe, 71 years old, and the reports of that saying she would die from basically cancer and all. Most people may remember seeing her from the 80s sitcom, Cheers and all. She's also appeared on numerous movies and TV shows and all. I think I remember seeing her in the movie Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan or something like that, though. So, but yeah, very unfortunate and very sad to hear about that. So my heart goes out to friends and family of Christine Alley, though. Okay, with the quick my 2 cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with basically Microsoft and Activision and the whole FTC saga that just recently happened this week. Now, this week saw some very interesting reporting that has come out in regards of basically the whole Activision Blizzard, in the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal. There were reports that Microsoft was going to meet with the FTC, to the New York Post talking about basically, according to their sources though, that supposedly the deal was that the FTC was going to vote in favor of the deal. Obviously, that did not happen this week, as it's now been reported that the FTC is moving forward in terms of a lawsuit filed to prevent this deal from basically happening, though. In an article posted by The Verge, it reads that, quote, "The FTC has filed a legal challenge to try and block Microsoft's plan to buy Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion. According to a press release from the regulators. The lawsuit was filed today after weeks of back and forth between Microsoft, Sony, and regulators over competition concerns in the future of Call of Duty. The FTC argued that the acquisition would enable Microsoft to suppress competitors to its Xbox gaming console and its rapid growing subscription content and cloud-based gaming." Excuse me, Rock. Sorry, it's my cat. Though, cloud-based playing game, though. The vote from the FTC Commission today means Microsoft now faces significant hurdles on getting its Activision Blizzard deal complete. Regulators in the UK and EU are also scrutinizing the deal closely despite Microsoft's repeated attempt to appease regulator. Microsoft has already shown that it can and will withhold content from its gaming rival, the director of the FTC's Bureau of Competition. Sorry, that's my cat jumping the board. Though, of Competition said in a statement, "Today we seek to stop Microsoft from gaining control over a leading independent gaming studio and using it to harm competitors in a multiple, dynamic, and fast-growing gaming market. We continue to believe that this deal will expand competition and create more opportunities for gamers and games developers." Brad Smith, Microsoft's vice chairman and president, said in a statement to The Verge, "We have been committed since day one to address competition concerns, including by offering earlier this week proposals concessions to the FTC. While we believe in giving peace a chance, we have complete confidence in our case and welcome the opportunity presented in court." The company corporate vice president of communication, Frank X. Shaw, also tweeted a link to the document titled "Get the Facts" on Microsoft's committed to growing the gaming community, though. That's just my cat. He's just jumped on the desk several times. In a letter to Activision Blizzard employees, CEO Bobby Kotick told staff that he wants to reinforce my confidence that the acquisition will close. The allegations that this deal is anti-competitor doesn't align with the facts, and we believe we will win this challenge, he said. The company also posted an internal email penned by Jan Boatmans, Activision SVP of Liquidation, Regulatories, and Public Policy, outlining its position on the deal. So it's very interesting to see Microsoft really pushing to, FTC really not pushing to get this deal done. And I'm kind of mixed on the FTC's position on this to some degree, though. While I'm not opposed to Microsoft basically, I'm not opposed to the FTC looking into this deal very carefully and seeing whether or not some concerns that should be addressed. To me, some of that is not only the monopoly issue, but how, what are the concerns about the employees, whether they're going to be screwed over or not, or their concerns have been addressed, unionization, whether or not basically where Microsoft will be committed and truly remain neutral on that. More on that in part 2 to be exact. And of course, how consumers feel about this, though. So I do think that I'm not completely against the FTC really taking a look at this deal or anything like that. I'm just not 100% sure, because to me, this can somewhat come off as being that they are hell-bent from preventing this deal from happening and all that stuff. And there also has been cases where the FTC has gone to court and have lost. One of the examples I've given, though some may view this as political to others, is the fact that the FTC was taken to court when it was basically revealed that then President Trump wanted to block the AT&T Time Warner deal, and the allegation was because CNN hurt Trump's feelings to the point that that a judge ruled that the FTC could not do that, and they can't use their position like that and all. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this is going to emerge in courts. Though what's also going to be interesting to see is if this somehow makes its way to the Supreme Court. That would be really interesting if that does happen. Although it's too early to tell, though. It's possible that this deal may not be done as soon as Microsoft has hoped for, to be exact, though. Do I think there's a good chance this deal could still go through? I think there is still a chance it could go through. It's possible there may be more concessions to be made, possibility there, but we'll have to wait and see how this lawsuit plays out, to be exact. So overall, very interesting week for this whole Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, though. Interesting to see the FTC take this to court and all. Whether they succeed or not, that remains to be seen at this time. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one, we're going to be taking a look at supposedly a push for another unionization in the gaming industry, though, or the gaming industry in general. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at unions, particularly unions in the gaming industry, though, as it does seem to be indicates that another union is popping up in terms of in the gaming industry and all. Now, that to me as a gamer, though, and not to mention as someone who is also more of a blue-collar worker and all that stuff, though, I find it very interesting to see that unionization popping up in places that I never really would have thought in a million years I would ever expect, though, because to me, I've always viewed unions as, and this is how I kind of pretty much grew up, is as, representing, the blue-collar workers, those who work the blue-collar jobs, not the white-collar jobs, though. Although lately we have seen, somewhat of a shift, though, not to the extent of unions no longer representing blue-collar workers, but a shift in terms of seeing businesses or white-collar jobs, businesses that we never thought in a million years, though, would push for unionization, though. We saw this with the video game testers at Raven Software, and now it does seem to be we are entering another position, this time with the folks who work at ZeniMax, the same studio, the folks who also own, Bethesda and all of its studios as well. In an article published by the Hollywood Reporter, it reads that, quote, workers at Microsoft's own video game developer ZeniMax Studios are organizing and attempting to form the first U.S. union at a tech giant. About 300 quality assurance Q&A workers at the Elder Scrolls Online High Island developers are attempting to join the Communication Workers of America, CWA, the union announced on Monday. The workers are based at company sites in Hutts Valley and Rockville, Maryland, and Austin and Dallas, Texas. Per the CWA, Microsoft has agreed to voluntarily recognize the union if a majority of the ZeniMax studio workers vote to join in a card count, though. In June, Microsoft signed an open stance towards labor unions when President and Vice President Brad Smith published a memo saying the company is committed to creative and collaborative approach with unions when employees wish to exercise their rights, and Microsoft was presented with a specific unionization proposal. Later in the month, the CWA, which has been actively organizing at video games holding company Activision Blizzard, which Microsoft purchased, and $68.7 billion earlier this year, pending what I talked about in part one with the whole lawsuit, inked a labor neutrality agreement with Microsoft. If the Microsoft Activision deal passes regulatory scrutiny and closed, the neutrality agreement will go into effect 60 days after. We applaud Microsoft for remaining neutral through this process and letting workers decide for themselves whether they want a union, CWA President Christopher Shelton said in a statement. The company is fulfilling the commitment they laid out in their labor practice earlier this year while sending a resounding message to the video game industry. The right to freely and fairly make a choice about union representation should be in the hands of workers, not management. A Microsoft spokesman added, the recent organized effort of ZeniMax employees at Microsoft and ZeniMax neutrality towards this are an example of our labor principles in action. We remain committed to providing employees with an opportunity to freely and fairly make choices about their workplace representation. The CWA successfully organized a union of Q&A workers at Activision Blizzard's own Raven Software in May and prevented in an NLRB union election with another group of Q&A at Blizzard's Albany on Friday. The union relationship with Activision Blizzard has been contentious, with CWA filing multiple unfair labor practice complaints with the NRBA against the company and backing employees' protests, though. So basically, what I'm reading, based on what I'm reading from the Hollywood Reporter, is this. If what Microsoft is doing is correct, and they are showing that they are going to remain completely neutral throughout this whole process, though, then I think that's a very good thing indeed, though. I do agree with that stance, to be exact, though. Any decision on unionization, I may have said this many times, but my position is that any decision on this must be the employee's decision, though. They must weigh the pros and cons and determine, do we want to go this direction or not? Do we want to be part of a union or not, though, to be exact, though? And I think that is a position that's a situation that the employees must make on their own. While I agree that unions under no circumstances should bully or intimidate or threaten people to join a union, though, I would also like to say the same rule applies to those who use any form of union busting tactics of any type, though. So, and I definitely don't think there's anything wrong if employees who want to hold that vote or not. Doesn't matter if you work at a blue collar job or a white collar job, though, you should have the right to decide whether or not you feel unionization is the right direction to go or not. So, assuming what this report is saying is true, and Microsoft is staying neutral on this, though, then I think that's a very good thing, though, and it will be very interesting if they bring this up when they deal with the lawsuit the FTC has filed against them over the Activision Blizzard deal. So time will tell to see how this all plays out, to be exact, though. But overall, pending this report and pending that everything we heard is correct, though, I will say that I think it's very good. I think employees should always have the right to decide whether they think unionization is the right direction to go or not, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with putting aside, what I'm talking about with the whole FTC situation. Apparently, basically signing signing the so-called basically a deal with Nintendo and Steam over Call of Duty and all. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my 2 cent video. And for this one, we're going to be talking about Call of Duty, specifically a deal pending, the Microsoft Activision deal and the whole FTC lawsuit go fixed and all that stuff. But the possibility that Call of Duty could make its way over to a Nintendo platform and all. Now, Call of Duty is no stranger to the Nintendo platform and all that stuff. The series has made its appearance before on, systems like the Wii, the GameCube, and even the Wii U. But despite that, though, majority of the games have either been found on like the PlayStation or the Xbox systems. The last game I can remember was, I think, Call of Duty Ghosts. I think that was back in 2013 and all. And since then, Call of Duty has not appeared on any Nintendo, hasn't appeared since then at all. Hell, even the Switch hasn't even gotten a Call of Duty game since then, despite how well the Switch has been doing and all that stuff. Yet, despite that, though, the Switch seems to have been doing fine, even without a Call of Duty game on its system and all. I'm not saying that I'm against Call of Duty being on the Nintendo Switch. It's just that even without Call of Duty, the Switch seems to be doing perfectly fine as it stands right now and all. Well, recently, it seems as though that a deal supposedly Microsoft struck with Nintendo and also Steam seems to indicate that, assuming pending this Microsoft Activision deal goes through, that we could see Call of Duty make its way over to the Nintendo Switch, though. In an article from the Associated Press, dated on December 7th, it reads that, quote, Microsoft agreed Wednesday to make the hit video game Call of Duty available on Nintendo for 10 years should its $69 billion purchase of game maker Activision Blizzard go through, an apparent attempt to fend off objections from rival Sony. The blockbuster merger is faced close scrutiny from regulators in the US, Europe, and elsewhere. Microsoft, the maker of the Xbox game console, faced resistance from Sony, which made the competing PlayStation console, and has raised concerns with antitrust watchdogs about losing access to what it's called a must-have game title. Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, tweeted that Microsoft entered into a 10-year commitment to basically, that's my cat, sorry, 10-year commitment to bring Call of Duty to the Nintendo Switch. Microsoft President Brad Smith, okay, that's my cat, sorry, tweeted his thanks to Nintendo, which makes the Switch game console, saying the same offer was available for Sony. Any day Sony wants to sit down and talk, we'll be happy to hammer out a 10-year deal for PlayStation as well, he said. Smith said the agreement will bring Call of Duty to more gamers and more platforms, and that's good for competition and good for consumers. Sony's European press office didn't respond to a request for a comment. Adding to the pressure on Sony and Microsoft, it also said Wednesday it has committed to keeping Call of Duty on platform Steam, a digital marketplace for PC, and an agreement with Steam operator Valve. In an op-ed for the Wall Street Journal this week, Smith raised concern about the possibility that the Federal Trade Commission could take Microsoft to court to stop the deal, which we know that's the case, though. Antitrust watchdogs in both Britain and European Union are also investigating the transaction over concerns it would destroy competition and all. So the fact that they're Microsoft pending, assuming this deal goes through, and of course, the whole lawsuit issue, basically are saying, yeah, we're willing to bring it to your platform and all, is kind of interesting, because what makes this whole situation, what makes it this interesting to a certain degree, is that Nintendo really didn't do anything. I mean, unlike Sony, as much as I like the PS5 and all, but unlike Sony, which is fighting tooth and nail to prevent this deal from happening because of basically they feel like without Call of Duty, Sony is nothing, which I think is misleading to a certain degree and all. Though Nintendo has been pretty much just doing their own thing. They just pretty much just was busy just doing their own thing. The Switch has been doing well. It has a different variety of games, even M-rated games. Maybe not Call of Duty M-rated games, but M-rated games nevertheless. And yet somehow Microsoft said, "Hey, want to have a deal, have Call of Duty on your platform?" And Nintendo's like, "Yeah, okay, that certainly is fine though." So it's just interesting to see that basically Nintendo didn't really do nothing and Microsoft decided, hey, let's make a deal to bring Call of Duty to your platform though. Not to mention, it is worth pointing out that Microsoft and Nintendo seem to be more on a friendlier term than say what things were maybe like a decade ago or so forth though. So it's sort of fascinating that they're willing to sign a deal and all. Now, as far as pending, the whole deal and everything, as far as what does this mean for basically the Switch or Nintendo platforms going forward, it's unclear if this means that a Call of Duty game is going to be announced for the Nintendo Switch or anything like that. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not. And as far as how they could approach Call of Duty for Nintendo systems, there are several ways they could approach it. They could technically basically do a cloud version. I know that's not going to sit very well with everyone though. They could try to do like a native version, like actually see if they could port the games over to Nintendo's platforms. They could do is maybe ports, maybe some remasters, some old Call of Duty games like the old Modern Warfares or the Black Ops to the World War II ones though, to even maybe design a Call of Duty specifically for the Switch of mine or like a Nintendo/Switch focused title to be exact. So there are many ways they could technically approach this though, but again, we won't know for certain pending Microsoft going through with the Activision Blizzard deal and whether or not basically then Microsoft right now going to court over to the FTC over this. So time will ultimately tell how this all plays out, but overall, it's very interesting to see basically Microsoft announcing a 10-year deal to bring Call of Duty not only to the Nintendo platforms, but also, continue with it being on Steam as well, though. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 4, and this one has to do with the Game Awards and who basically won and what was announced during the Game Awards and all. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be talking about the Game Awards 2022. Now, I'm sure most of you are aware this was the week that they had it, though. And the Game Awards have had some ups and downs over the years, though. But some of them are, some games have done pretty well. Others are usually there for just the big announcements and some of the trailers though, and there were some pretty cool announcements, including one where apparently it seems as though somebody basically stormed the stage when the Game of the Year was announced and was paying homage to somebody named, it's basically Bill Clinton, not related to the former president or anything like that, but from what I've been hearing, it's apparently they were paying homage to a basically supposedly an anti-Semitic, and this person was a far-right streamer that appeared on Alex Jones' InfoWar. I mean, I don't know the whole details or anything like that, but it's sort of very bizarre that this had happened at the Game Awards and all. But anyway, I didn't get a chance, unfortunately, to watch it though. Again, certain things were happening, work and all that stuff though. But I did get a chance to see who won and all that stuff, and couple of announcements I wasn't entirely surprised about. Like, for example, though, Game of the Year went to Elden Rings, which shouldn't be completely shocking in any way. That did not surprise me at all, though, to be exact, though. I will admit, I would have liked to see Xenoblade Chronicles 3 got Game of the Year. It was nominated, though. But either way, I mean, Elden Ring, I'm happy that Elden Ring won nevertheless, though. I mean, it's obviously put the whole Souls-like genre really into the mainstream, and Elden Rings really did a good job on that, though. In terms of players' choices, though, Genshin Impact was the winner, though. I don't know why a free-to-play kind of game won, but it is what it is, though. In terms of ongoing game, though, Final Fantasy XIV was the winner, though. In terms of community support, though, I believe Final Fantasy XIV also won. In terms of best adaptation, basically Netflix's Riot Games, Arcane, basically won, though. A little disappointed that Sonic the Hedgehog 2 didn't win, or the Cuphead show, or Cyberpunk Edge Runner. Really like Cyberpunk Edge Runner, though. But they were nominated, but either way, it went to Arcane. In terms of role-playing game, Elden Rings was the big winner, with games like Pokemon Legends Arceus, Triangle Strategy, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and Live Alive each getting nominated at all. Again, like I said, call me biased. I would have preferred Xenoblade Chronicles 3 or Triangle Strategy, but it is what it is. Most anticipated game is basically The Legend of Zelda Tears of Kingdom. That one became the winner, though. In terms of innovation and accessibility, God of War won that one. In terms of narrative, though, God of War basically became winner of that one, though. In terms of mobile games, though, Marvel Snap became the winner on that one, though. Excuse me. In terms of action and adventure, though, God of War Ragnarok won that one. Tunic did get nominated, though. Same with the Plague's Tale Requiem, though. Obviously, they didn't win, but it's nice that they got nominated nevertheless, though. In terms of multiplayer game, Splatoon 3 won, so that certainly is nice. Games for Impact, though, as Duskfall was the big winner for that on that category. In terms of audio design, though, God of War Ragnarok won. In terms of fighting games, though, Multiverse was the big winner. In terms of family games, though, Kirby and the Forgotten Land was the big winner, although most of that in terms of family games, it was mostly dominated by Nintendo, with Splatoon 3, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, and Nintendo Switch Sport. Although Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga was also nominated in terms of family game. In terms of content creator of the year, we had the winner was Lungwig AHGREN. Probably may have heard of this person, but I haven't really saw him or anything like that. In terms of performance, though, Christopher Judge for God of War Ragnarok. In terms of sports games, though, sports and racing games, Gran Turismo 7 was the winner of that one. In terms of esports, I think Valorant's Riot Game, not really into the esports things, though. In terms of art direction, it was won by Elden Ring. In terms of scores and soundtracks, though, God of War Ragnarok won, though, with Elden Ring getting nominated, Plague's Tale Requiem, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 got nominated, though. In terms of best action game, though, Bayonetta 3 won that one. I think that is really good, though. I'm glad that the series is getting the attention it deserves, though. And despite, the whole voice acting controversy, though, it doesn't seem to have had any kind of impact on Bayonetta 3 and all. In terms of independent game, though, Stray won that category, though. In terms of strategy games, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, definitely nice, though. That is a very good strategy game, even though it kind of is a throwback to, even though it's, or not throwback, but mechanics are very similar to basically XCOM and all. In terms of VR game, though, Moss Book 2 won, though. In terms of debut indie games, though, Stray also won, which, again, nothing against Stray, though, but I would have liked to see, would have been happy if Tonic basically won it all. In terms of studios and game direction, it seems that there are two winners on that one, and that is basically From Software with Elden Ring and Bandai Namco, though, and the rest have mostly been basically esports, and I'm not hugely into that one. But obviously, the big winner, of course, was Elden Ring and everything like that. And yeah, I mean, love it or hate it, Elden Ring really dominated 2022 and all, so it was definitely the big winner and all that. In terms of what was announced at the Game Awards, though, and there were several different announcements, though, they showed off new trailers for Final Fantasy 16 was shown off. We finally got basically a new trailer for Armored Core, and it's supposed to be coming out in 2023, and I'm very curious to see exactly how FromSoft is going to handle it following the success of Elden Ring. Do they take an Elden Ring approach or not? So it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle Armored Core, though. Hades 2 was announced. That's really neat, though. I enjoyed the first Hades, to be exact, so I'm looking for that one. Ken Levine's next game is Judas. They showed off that one, though. I'm kind of curious to see that from the person who helped create the BioShock series. Death Stranding 2 was announced during the Game Awards. That certainly was nice. But apparently, for what we're hearing, is that the part of it, though, apparently the story for the sequel had to rewrite the whole thing because, according to this one, it had to do with COVID. So I'm kind of curious what the story would have been had, COVID not happened and all. So that's kind of interesting, though. Erebus Ebby is joining Cyberpunk's 2077 Phantom Library, though. As I mentioned in the Quick My Two Cent, Jedi Survivor has been confirmed for March 2023, though. Diablo 4 has been announced for June 2023. Street Fighter 6, they showed off that. It's on its way June 2nd, 2023. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is coming out May 26, 2023, and apparently will pay tribute to the late Kevin Conroy, who's been confirmed to voice Batman one last time in this title, though. So hopefully they'll do a nice tribute to him and all that. We saw clips of the first Super Mario Brothers movie, though. This one, Mario and the Mushroom Kingdom. And there were some announcements like Tekken, Horizon having this DLC, a 4-4 multiplayer game with Crash Team Rumbling. They showed off Warhammer 40,000 and so forth. And another one, Bayonetta's original Origins, though, that's kind of surprising considering, we just had Bayonetta 3, Hellboy, and several other stuff was announced as well, though. So while not every game won that people had hoped for, though, it was sort of nice to see some of the games that won, though. I mean, I'm happy that Bayonetta 3 won and so forth, but there's no denying Elden Ring's really dominated the game boards and all. So overall, though, I mean, from what I've read so far, it seemed to be okay, though, except for that one bizarre incident happened after Elden Ring's won Game of the Year. So it's just weird about that whole situation and all. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about basically this lawsuit the FTC filed against Microsoft? Do you think they have a case? Do you don't think they have a case? Do you expect to see this go to the Supreme Court in any way? What are your thoughts about another developer looking to push for unionization? Do you support this approach? Do you not support this approach? Are you happy that supposedly Microsoft is taking a hands-off approach, though? What are your thoughts about Microsoft signing this Call of Duty 10-year deal with Nintendo and Steam? Do you think this is a smart move on their part? Do you think this is going to put more pressure onto Sony and all? Do you think this could have any impact whatsoever on the current upcoming lawsuit? And what are your thoughts about the Game Awards? Were you happy with some of the games that won those awards? Were you not happy? Were you surprised or not surprised that Elden Rings was dominated? And what about some of the announcements? Were you concerned about any of the announcements? Were there any announcements that you were happy that they announced, though? Do you agree with what it said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I will appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!